Let's get into main topic number one here, shall we? And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Tomas. And Tomas writes, "Hey, John and Rob. With AMC about to file for bankruptcy, it looks like that might be inevitable. I was wondering why big movie studios like Disney don't buy or build their own theaters. All the money generated from movies would go straight to them, and they in turn would make all the profits. No? All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And listen, you are not the first person, Tomas, to be raising that question right now. Now, of course, for a long time, there had been in Hollywood these things called the Paramount decrees that had been around for decades. And basically, they're more complicated than this, but the basic gist is the Paramount decrees made it illegal for studios to own movie theaters. They just recently last year struck down the Paramount decrees, so the door is now open. However, just because you can do a thing doesn't necessarily mean you should do a thing or that you would even want to do a thing. So in this context, we have a lot of people asking, well, why don't now the studios just step in and own the movie theaters? And we've talked about this a lot, but I'm glad you wrote this in, Thomas, because here's the thing. Studios, at the end of the day, they do not want to own movie theaters. They have no interest in owning movie theaters. They really don't, for a couple of reasons. That's a huge amount of money you got to spend to get them. And if you're somebody like Disney, who just dropped $73 billion to buy Fox, you don't have a lot of spare pocket change around right now. Any money you do have, you're kind of putting into content and Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. So you don't really have it. But here's really the bottom line. The bottom line is the reason theaters aren't interested in getting into the movie theater game can really be split into two parts. Part number one, they know nothing about the movie theater game. So that's one thing to kind of stay and keep in mind. The second and probably most important part is something that we talk about around here on the show all the time, which is the fact that the movie theater industry has insanely small margins, which means, just for example's sake, if it costs a theater $1 million to stay in business, they probably make $1.1 or $1.2 million. They don't have a lot of room there. If they suddenly lose 30% of their income, suddenly now, instead of making $100,000 to $200,000 in profit, they actually make less than what they need to keep the lights on and they go out of business. The studios understand that. That's why they've always liked their relationship with movie theaters doing their thing, because they know we don't want to do it. We'd rather have you do it. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of studios preemptively coming out and saying, nope, we have no interest in buying movie theaters, whatever, because there's just, people think like, Rob, here's the thing about movie theaters. And understandably so, because today you go to these movie theaters and they look like these giant temples of the movies, right? And they're great and they're glorious. And so it creates this impression for us. People think that, oh, wow, movie theater business, you're rolling in money. The reality is it's really not. And it's razor thin margins and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not something that the theater or the studios really want to be a part of or be involved in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know, Rob, if somebody were to ask you, hey, why doesn't Disney just buy AMC or something like that? How would you respond to that?
Well, for this, pretty much what you just said, but remember, I mean, it's not just owning a building where they show movies. You've got incredible amounts of employees. It's a whole ecosystem of businesses that you're having to deal with. Now, if any company bought movie theaters, Disney, being in the hospitality business with their theme parks, would probably be an ideal company to own movie theaters. But like you said, there's no way Disney's going to get invested in such a business with those margins. There's no profitability as far as the kind of profitability that they earn from their parks or whatever, any of their other businesses. So there's no incentive. Like, why would Disney? The only incentive I could see, and I don't know the economics behind this, is that they need places to open their Marvel movies and their Star Wars movies and their Pixar movies. So in that sense, maybe, but then they would have to own so many movie theaters to make it profitable on that level. And they would have to have a constant pipeline. You'd have a movie coming out like every 3 weeks. And so even Disney, I don't see, could make it a profitable business for them, because they make so much money doing other things.
Agreed. Well, here, the question is, guys, What do you think about that? I mean, a lot of people ask and wonder, why don't theaters own, or why don't the studios just buy the theaters? There's a lot of reasons why it's a lot of money. There's not a lot of upside for them. It just doesn't be thing. That's why every studio head in the recent months has been saying, yeah, we have no interest in that. Question is, what do you guys think? Can you make an argument for why maybe buying a AMC theaters might be appealing to Warner Brothers or Paramount? Let me know your thoughts. Jump down into the comment section and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys.